Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this channel. My name is Charles. I am an English home language teacher and I've been teaching for the past 5 years now. I have experience in marking poetry at the NSC, Marking Center for English Home Language Paper 2. So I hope to share some of the skills that I've learned throughout that experience with you during this process, particularly video 2 in this video series in which we will look at how to answer poetry exam questions for the poem Vultures. But we'll get to that, like I said, in video series number 2. Okay, so my goal of this channel in its entirety is to share the skills that I've learned through my teaching with grade 12 learners across South Africa, as well as teachers out there. If there are any teachers also tuning in, thank you very much. And I encourage you to use some of the methodologies that I've used in this lesson within your classroom. Lastly, I'm presently completing my master's degree in creative writing, so I really hope that once you're done watching this video, you will take the time to check out some of my own work, and all the links and all the information are in the description box below. So if you are familiar with this series, right, and this is a bit of education theory, I like to begin my lessons with probing questions. So, every learner out there, or every human being, right? Let's not put an age stamp to this, right? So, everybody in this world has what is called prior knowledge or everyday knowledge, right? So, throughout your lifetime, you have learned various things, right? And I want to link some of the things that you've learned throughout your life to the content knowledge of this particular lesson. Okay, so, and we're going to do that, like I said, through probing questions. And the first one I want to look at is what is meant by predator and animal instinct. So, what comes to your mind when you hear the words predator and animal instinct? Right? So, perhaps pause this video, chat to somebody at home, maybe to a parent or guardian, or to a brother and sister, or maybe to a friend, right? Pause in between and discuss these questions. Next question. Why do humans commit evil acts? So think about that, chat to somebody about that. Why do humans do bad deeds? Or think about your own life if you have already, hopefully not. But like I said, we if you think about it, we are all human. So why in some certain scenario, why have you committed a bad deed before? What was the reasoning? Right? Okay, so the next two questions I want to kind of combine. Do evil people have the ability to be good, and do good people have the ability to be evil? Okay, so think about that, and I think this creates an interesting discussion or very critical discussion because we as humans, right, we don't have one characteristic, right? If you think of anybody that you know, or think about yourself, you can't just pigeonhole people. Right? This person is like this, and that's it, right? We are multifaceted, right? There are different sides to our personality, right? Or to us as humans, right? So think about that. Why do some people steer towards perhaps being more good, right, or having good qualities? Or why do some people steer towards being evil or have more evil characteristics or qualities? Okay, think about that, right? What are the reasonings? And then we're going to get to our poem, which is Vultures by Chinua Achebe. And as always, within the lesson, we're going to read the poem. So let's start. In the greyness and drizzle of one despondent dawn, unstirred by harbingers of sunbreak, a vulture, perching high on broken bones of a dead tree, nestled close to his mate, his smooth, bashed-in head, a pebble on a stem rooted in a dump of gross feathers, inclined affectionately to hers. Yesterday, they picked the eyes of a swollen corpse in a waterlogged trench, and ate the things in its bowel. For gorge, they chose their roost, keeping the hollowed remnant in easy range of cold telescopic eyes. Strange, indeed, how love in other ways so particular will pick a corner in a charnel house, tidy it, and coil up there, perhaps even fall asleep, her face turned to the wall, Thus the commandant at Balsan camp, going home for the day with fumes of human roast clinging rebelliously to his hairy nostrils, will stop at the wayside sweet shop and pick up a chocolate for his tender offspring, waiting at home for daddy's return. Praise bounteous providence, if you will, that grants even an ogre a tiny glowworm tenderness, encapsulated in icy caverns of cruel heart or else despair. For in the very germ of that kindred love is lodged the perpetuity of evil. Okay, so let's look at a brief summary of the entire poem, which is quite long. At the beginning of the poem, the speaker describes a pair of vultures who, after eating a huge meal of stinking and rocking meat, settle down affectionately and begin to sleep next to each other. According to the speaker, he finds it weird that even such ugly looking creatures who commit such repulsive acts, have the ability to express love for each other. In the second section of the poem, the speaker introduces a Nazi commandant, right? Sorry, I think there's a mistake. It's supposed to be a commandant who is working at the Balsan concentration camp, right? The commandant's job is to give order for large amounts of people to be gassed and burnt. However, on the commandant's way home, he stops to buy his children or child chocolates. It is evident that the speaker compares the vultures to the commandant because, despite the evil and disgusting acts they commit, both, right? So he's looking at the vultures and the commandant, have the ability to show affection and love. At the end of the poem, the speaker wonders whether we, the readers, right, of the poem, should be grateful that even the most evil of creatures have the capacity to feel love and tenderness, or should we be grateful, right, we, the readers, right, sorry, should we be depressed and hopeless, as it is evident that the ability to love and be evil is part of all of us. Okay, so I'm going to look at summary. The summary continued, but now, learners, if you've noticed in your poem, there are ellipses, right? The three dots, right? So if you look at lines 1 to 21, at the end you'll see dot, dot, dot. Yeah, right? So the poem, you can say, is divided into four sections, right? So lines 1 to 21 refer to the description of the vultures, the birds, right? Then in section 2 of the poem, lines 22 to 29, we are introduced to the feeling of love, right? We all know what love is, but love in this context is being personified. What does personified mean? Love is given human characteristics, right? Or here it says given a human characteristic, right? And love, a positive and good feeling, is described to turn its back, right? Meaning love looks away from evil acts, right? In this context. Okay. In section 3, lines 30 to 40, we get the description of a different vulture, and in this context, it is a commandant, right? Excuse me, who gives orders for people to be burned at Balsan, at the Balsan concentration camp, right? And then in section 4, the last part of the poem, lines 41 to 51, the speaker reflects on human nature. Right? Remember, we discussed this in the beginning of the poem. Everyone has the ability, so the speaker is reflecting on everyone has the ability to love yet be evil at the same time. Okay, so perhaps you want to pause over here, write this down just so that you understand, or maybe next to your poem, just make this little note that these are the four sections of the poem and these four different things are happening. Okay, vocabulary, these are some words that you might not be familiar with or you are familiar with, and for those who are not, um, let's just go through some of it, okay? So, despondent in line 3 refers to being in low spirits from loss of hope or courage. Dawn in line 4, the first appearance of light in the sky before sunrise. Harbingers, also line 4, something that signals that the other thing is approaching. Right? So it's basically a signal. Perching is line 5 is to rest on something. Nestled line 7 is to settle or lie comfortably within or against something. Right? So perching and nestled will kind of be one and the same thing. Bashed in line 9 refers to break or smash a hole in something. Pebble line 7, okay, I don't know why that's after line 9, but nonetheless, Pebble line 7, a stone, waterlogged line 15, something that is full of water. Bowel line 17, the part of the alimentary canal below the stomach or the intestine. So we should all be familiar with bowel, we all have that. Gorge line 18, to eat a large amount greedily or to fill oneself with food, to gorge yourself or to gorged. Hollowed line 19, formed by making a hole, and then remnant also line 19, the remains of something after the greater part has been used, removed, or destroyed. Okay. Telescopic line 21 refers to something very small. Right? Charnel House line 26, a building or vault in which corpses or bones are piled. Okay. Balsam Camp line 30 to 31 refers to a Nazi concentration camp in Germany where Jewish hostages were first held, or primarily Jewish hostages were first held, with the intention of exchanging them for German prisoners of war held overseas. Okay, rebelliously, line 34, a manner of fighting against or refusing to obey authority. Wayside, the edge of a road, line 36, praise, line 41, to express warm approval of admiration of something. Bounteous, line 41, generously given or giving a lot of something. Providence, line 42, the protective care of God or a higher power. Ogre, a cruel or terrifying person or monster like type of thing. Encapsulated, line 45, to enclose something. Okay. Caverns, line 46, a large cave, or a large and dark space. Despair, line 47, complete hopelessness. Kindred, line 49, similar. And lodged, line 50, become permanently a part of something. And perpetuity, line 50, also the state, or this refers to the state or quality of lasting forever. Okay, so let's look at the title, everybody. So, in this context, the title vultures refers to two different types of vultures. Okay, so firstly, a vulture, the animal, is a large bird that is a predator. Right? An animal that naturally preys on others. What is a predator? An animal that naturally preys on others. Okay, and then it continues to say that a vulture has a head and neck more or less bare of feathers, and this bird feeds mainly on carrion, which is dead meat. Vultures also gather around the bodies of things that will die soon, or sick or injured animals or people. Okay. Secondly, a vulture can also refer to a person, um, to a person that is. Sorry, there's a mistake here. That is despicable or evil, right? But also praise or exploits others. Right? In this context, the human vulture refers to the commandant in the Nazi concentration camp in the second section of the poem. Right? Okay, so those are the pictures. Check out the one vulture on the left, which refers to the bird, and the other vulture, which refers to the Nazi officer type of person. Okay, both are vultures. Okay, so guys, let's begin our analysis of the poem. In the greyness and drizzle of one despondent dawn. So, the poem begins with a dull, gloomy, hopeless atmosphere. Right? It says greyness and drizzle, right? And the word despondent. Okay, so at the beginning of this poem, it is morning time, just before the sun is about to rise. How do we know that? Because of the word dawn, right? And the little bit of light in the sky is described as despondent, meaning the light in the sky is in low spirits from loss of hope or courage. The poem begins in darkness, no light, and this is effective as the speaker is trying to convey the dark and evil side of the vultures. Okay, now you also see the drizzle, dawn, drizzle, despondent, and dawn, duh, 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 right? The repetition of the D sound, that is alliteration, right? So it's drizzle, despondent, dawn, it's that hard D sound, right? And this creates a dull and blunt idea for the reader, right? The reader understands that the atmosphere of the bird in sorry, there's a mistake here. The reader understands that the atmosphere is ominous and uninviting. Okay, it is dark. There is slight rain, and the tone of this at the beginning of the poem is dreary, dull, ominous. Right? Okay, unstirred by harbingers of sunbreak, of vulture. So what's happening now? Even though the sunlight that breaks out into the dark sky is creating a signal, right? The sunlight is creating a harbinger, right? That a new day has started, right? We know that the sun or light, that once it breaks into the sky, it's showing us, right, human beings, that oh, okay, it's a new day starting, right? However, here it says that this vulture is unstirred, right? So it means that the vulture is not interested or affected by the light, right? And continues to rest. Okay. But the vulture is also described to be perching high on broken bone of a dead tree nestled close to his mate. The vulture is perching high on the branch, and this suggests that the bird uses the tree as a vantage point to survey its hunting ground. Right? So remember, the vulture is like sitting on this broken bone, right? And it's like looking around, right? It's looming, it's like scouring, probably looking for food or something. Okay? The tree is compared to a skeleton of a dead animal or person, right? The broken bone of a dead tree, and the dead tree reveals the ominous feeling of death in the poem. So again, we get that. If you know what ominous means, something bad or evil is going to happen. This ominous feeling, right? Ominous tone as well. Despite the dead imagery, the vulture is resting on a tree comfortably against another bird, right? So there's a bit of a contrast here, learners, between um, the dead tree, right, and broken bone. So the vultures are perching on this dead tree or broken bone, right? Um, but it's also described to be nestled close to his mate. So these are two opposing ideas. So I'm just going to read this last section again. Right? Despite the dead imagery, the vulture is resting on a tree comfortably against another bird. Right? They nestle close. Provides and these words provide the reader with the impression that there is love between the two vultures. Okay. So, a vulture, a bird that naturally preys on others and eats dead meat, is also capable of love. So, think about that. So, even though a vulture that eats dead meat and they prey on dead or sick animals or people, right? They are also capable of love. So that's what the poet is trying to relay here in this section of the poem. The birds were affectionate in the previous lines, however, do you notice the contrast? Okay. Okay. Sorry. So, what do you learn from these lines? Learners, we as humans learn of the reminder that the inhumanity of people, right, and the cruelty of which they are capable of, right? Just as vultures. So, okay, let me take a step back, right? So, what are we learning in this lines? That humans are capable of inhumanity, right? Cruelty, right? Just as vultures commit horrific acts, right? They are also capable of love, and this can be applied to humans too. Right? So if you look at vultures and you say, okay, they're eating dead meat, they're preying on dead and sick animals, but they nestle close to his mate. So if you remember or if you refer back to the beginning of this poem, we spoke about a person having good and bad qualities, right? So here we see this idea presented within the vultures, right? Okay, look at the picture of the vultures, of the vulture. A smooth bashed in head, a pebble on a stem rooted in a dump of gross feathers. So the birds were affectionate in the previous line, however, do you notice a contrast? How is the speaker describing the head of a vulture? Two descriptions here. So the head of the vulture is described as bashed in. Okay? So the head of the vulture looks as though it is broken into, bashed in, as if there's a hole inside on top of it. Okay? The vulture's bald head exposes its unnatural looking head, and the vulture is perceived as disgusting looking. Okay? The head is described as a pebble, a small stone on the neck, on the top of dirty feathers. Excuse me. The feathers are described as grotesque and revolting, right? And the description influences the reader to have a disgusted attitude towards the vultures. So when you read that, his smooth, bashed in head, a pebble on the stem rooted in a dump of gross feathers, right? It's not a beautiful dove or eagle that they are describing in this context. Look at the vulture, right? It's been described as having a bashed in head on a small pebble head, right? On a dump of disgusting gross feathers. So think about that, right? Picture that. Ultimately, the speaker creates an ugly and disgusting physical image of the vultures. Okay, but they are inclined affectionately to hers. Again, despite being physically a physically ugly creature, the vulture is capable of showing affection to his beloved, the other vulture in the scene. Okay? And now we get another contrast. Yesterday, they picked the eyes of a swollen corpse in a waterlogged trench and ate the things in its bowel. Okay, that's a bit revolting, eh? The previous day, the vultures ate on on the dead body of a human. Right? This is unexpected for the reader as the vultures did not eat a dead animal. So yeah, they're saying a dead body, right? A dead corpse. So there are many contrasts in this poem. Remember, we just described that. Previously, the vultures were being affectionate towards each other. However, in this line, there's a bit of a shock value. The speaker wants you to be shocked and be like, okay, oh my word, look at this. It's disgusting. What's happening? I can't believe the vultures are doing this, right? However, the speaker wants you to think about it, right? Think about the scene. Think about the imagery, right? The vultures also ate everything from the human stomach. So they not only did they pick the meat of the flesh of the human, it also says here um, they ate everything in its bowel. Right? They ate the things in its bowel. Okay, so it is in the vulture's instinct or nature to feed on dead meat. Although for us humans this is unnatural. Okay, so yet humans who are able to reason still do evil things and still do evil things unto humans. So think about this, okay? So it's just a bit of a inciting tidbit there for you. Yeah, it says humans, right, who are able to reason, do other evil things unto other humans. Okay, so the vultures are described to be full gorged, right? And they chose their roost, keeping the hollowed remnant in easy range of cold telescopic eyes. So the vultures are full from everything that they've eaten, gorged. Right? The term gorge refers to eating too much, and this gives the reader the idea of the vultures' disgusting eating habits. Not only have the vultures eaten the dead meat, but but they enjoy eating it as they have stuffed themselves. So not only have they vultures, they eat dead meat of animals or humans, right? But they are described to be gorged, like they stuff themselves on that meat. Okay, and the eyes are described to be cold and telescopic, which reveals that vultures are emotionless and robotic. As predators, the vultures keep their kill within their sights or they prey within their sight. The term cold might suggest that the vultures are ruthless, calculating, and emotionless. Telescopic suggests the mechanical and robotic nature of the vultures, giving them the advantage of long distance vision that ensures the protection of their spoils. Okay, next section of the poem. Strange indeed how love in other ways so particular will pick a corner in that charnel house, tidy it and call up there, perhaps even fall asleep, her face turned to the wall. Okay, this section of the poem, the feeling of love, right? We all know the feeling of love, right? Is personified. It's given a human characteristic. Love is known as a positive and good feeling. However, in these lines, right, love is described to turn its back and look away from evil acts. The personification of love shows us how the human heart is actually a contradiction. The human heart is often associated with the feelings of love. However, here love, it is described to look or turn away from evil acts. Right? In other words, the human heart is capable of expressing both love and evil. And then we have that exclamation mark there at the end, which indicates the acts committed at the Balsan concentration camp that will be described in the next section. Right? It's a bit of a foreshadowing here. Is so evil that love cannot stand to look at the atrocities and corpses at the charnel house, which in this context refers to a morgue or where dead bodies are stored. Excuse me. Okay, thus the commandant at Balsan camp, going home for the day with fumes of human roast clinging rebelliously to his hairy nostrils. Okay, what's going on now? Here the poem shifts its direction. Here the reader is introduced to the Nazi officer that is the second vulture in the poem. These lines describe how an officer at the Balsan concentration camp spent his day killing humans in ovens, right? This and the smell of those humans being burnt, right, is stuck to his body. Now imagine that. The image of human roast is shocking because as human beings are being incinerated and the smell of burning flesh lingers in the air. Okay? The image of human roast is shocking because as human beings are being incinerated and the smell of burning flesh lingers in the air. I think that's a mistake there, that's there twice. The image emphasizes the cruelty of the concentration camps, right, as the smell of burning flesh that clings to the commandant's nostrils is a disturbing reminder of how those captured were treated inhumanely in the camp. So it's a bit of shock value again. But this image is also effective because it conveys the inhumane treatment of human beings and how the commandant regarded it as a natural part of his day. So remember, this guy that's burning these humans at the concentration camp, it's just seen as his job. He's just going there to do his thing and burning the people, and he goes home and he forgets about what he did. Right? It's a part of his everyday life. And that man will stop at a wayside sweet shop and pick up a chocolate for his tender offspring waiting at home for daddy's return. So the commandant ends his day like any ordinary worker returning to his family after work. However, this commandant has not had an ordinary day at work. Why? Right? Because we know that he was directly involved with the atrocious act of burning people alive all day. Okay? This shocking description signifies mankind's inhumanity towards their fellow human beings. Right? This is similar to the description of the vultures in section 1. Right? But remember, vultures act on the animal instinct. So ask yourself, why do humans commit evil deeds? Right? If it's the animal's nature, right, to be a vulture, to feed on dead corpses and dead animals and sick animals and all of those things, it's in their nature. But why do humans, right, who know right from wrong, right, commit evil deeds? So think about that. Praise bounteous providence, if you will. So here the speaker states that we should perhaps express our approval. We should praise the bounteous, the generous, right? God or higher power, the providence, right? So praise God, right? We must praise God. The speaker is saying, okay, but for what exactly? So we should praise God that grants even an ogre, a tiny glowworm, tenderness encapsulated in icy caverns of a cruel heart. So what does the speaker mean here? The commandant, right, is referred to an ogre, a cruel or terrifying person, right? But has humanity and the ability to love is compared to a tiny glowworm because he showed very little of it. Remember? So despite the atrocious acts he committed, he bought chocolates to take to his children or child at home. Right? So we must praise God, the speaker is saying, because this evil person had a tiny glowworm, right, of tenderness. He had a tiny little bit of love or affection, right, in his within his cruelty. Okay, so again, back to that initial discussion that we had in the beginning, or that question that I presented, right? Do evil humans have the ability to do good, or do good humans also have the ability to do evil? Right? So here we see it coming into play here. Right? Should we praise God that this evil person has the ability to love or show love? Right? And yeah, so think about that. So here it says, even though his humanity and love is encapsulated, it's hidden away, right, in a cold like cave inside of the commandment around his cruel heart. Okay. Now remember, the speaker said, should we praise God, right, that evil people have the ability to love, or should we be in despair, right? Should we feel hopelessness? For in the very germ of that kindred love is lodged the perpetuity of evil. So, what does it mean here? The speaker also says that even though we're going to praise God, right, or the higher power for allowing this evil person to have some sort of love or some sort of good qualities or characteristics, right? However, should we also not be in despair, right? That the speaker is saying, should we also not have despair or be hopeless, right? That evil people have the ability to love, right? And that ability to love is lodged, becomes permanently a part or coexist with something everlasting evil, right? Perpetuity refers to the state or the quality of lasting forever, right? So you must decide, learners, should we praise God that certain humans or evil humans have the ability to love, or should we have despair, right, that this that love, right, would be side by side or lodged in eternal evil, right? So you must think about that. Okay, so grade 12, thank you very much for watching this video, or anybody out there who perhaps is watching that's not in grade 12. Let me not single anybody out. Thank you so much for watching this video. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share. There can be somebody out there who perhaps doesn't understand this poem. Share it as much as possible. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, leave a comment there. If there was maybe a certain part of the poem that you didn't understand, that you understand before, I'd love to hear your feedback. And I'd see you in part 2 of this video series, which we will look at the past exam questions, right, of Vultures. So once again, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and best of luck with your exams.